do you read so many books? What are you going to do with all those books that you read it? And now we're here again. And I think this is like a revolution in what are you doing to improve, or why are you trying to gain this knowledge? I think it's just to prepare us for these moments. Because how could you have even imagined that we would be doing a thing called a podcast back then?
Yeah, I think I always wanted to do something connected to the public. I think I was thinking about my high school memory book. I wrote in there I wanted to be a newscaster, and I thought away so long ago because I thought, well, I don't talk right. I don't think I look right, and that was based on what I perceived the standards to be at that time. So I just walked away from that. But like I said, some of these books that we've read just kind of reminded me we all have to identify, or some of us who focus on this idea of purpose. Some people say, you're just born, you live, you die. Is purpose a necessary thing? And so what connecting with purpose, I'm like, yeah, I am supposed to be that newscaster and reporting and talking about the news that I think is important. A lot of times on social media, we come across this and that. A lot of it gets my attention, but at the end of the day, then I get mad with myself because it's completely irrelevant. A lot of it is, I don't know, one man's trash is another man's treasure, right? And sometimes it's fun to get into the trash, but more exciting, what gives me a real high is feeling like I'm stepping into purpose. Like you said, how good you felt today, like it's the most amazing feeling. So I think the book we're going to talk about today, The Greatest Salesman in the World, I thought about, there's a lot of salesmen, but what makes one great? Right? There's a lot of men. What makes one man great? There's a lot of women. What makes a great woman, right? What are the virtues of a great man, a great woman, or in this case, a great salesman? And that's why I think this book we're talking about today, thank you for recommending it to me, because it's really, if I don't read another book in my life, this will be the one that I'm going to carry with to my death. Right? This will be the one that it really addresses what I needed to hear right now. So I've been on cloud 9 since I read it 3 times already. 3 times. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, it was my pleasure. Whenever I'm going into a new endeavor, a new business, a new job, whenever I'm making a new move in my life, there are a couple of books that I always reread prior to the new circumstance or relationship that I'm getting involved with. And this is one of those books that every time I read it, like right now I'm getting goosebumps all over my body, because every time I read it, it reinforces in my mind that there are principles that exist. And if you can capture those principles, and then you're willing to put the time and effort to incorporate those principles into your life, seriously, that your life will automatically change. And it's almost unbeknownst to you, but you become a new person. What do you think about that?
Well, I reflect for a minute since we're opening. This is your book, and I said I want you to run the show today. I'm going to be humble enough to let you run the show.
What was that H word you said? What was that H word?
Happy? No, I'm going to be humble. Don't get me started. It's coming. It's coming. But why did you select this book? Why did you think this was important at this time? Maybe give us some back history on the book and why it's relevant.
Well, I've been a commission salesman all my life. As a matter of fact, I've never really liked jobs. Jobs were always like something I would do just until I could find a job that I could actually be a salesperson, because that's what I really like. I like talking with people. I don't like the whole version of sales that we see out there in the world that's predatory, where somebody's trying to convince. No, that's not my thing. My thing is more, if this is something you want, I got it. And I got it now, and I'm going to make you happy getting it. But if you really don't want it, I'm not going to fight you to get it. And so when you approach me with this idea of us getting on a podcast, it it struck a chord in me that I felt that I've been waiting for this time to come, because this book prepares me for what we're going to have to go through to get to where we want to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Quite differently. I never saw myself as a salesman. If I had to sell cookies at school, I wouldn't sell one box, because I guess being afraid of rejection. So when you said the greatest, I was like, why I have a book about sales, you know? But it fits, I believe, even for someone that doesn't identify as a salesman, because anybody that has a business ultimately is selling something, right? Anybody that has an organization, a purpose, a drive, a goal, they have to get the buy-in from other people. So it's important to know, are the people you're trying to get buy-in from, do they need what you have, right? And so this book touches on immediately addressing someone's need, right? And without that, what are you selling for anyway, right? It touches on get that love being the goal, right? If you can't have love and joy, there's no amount of money that's going to bring you to peace and the satisfaction that you need. So then it hit me. I was like, this is definitely for you, Nikki, because for you, purpose is important. And if you're not communicating purpose, you're not selling purpose, what are you selling? So I think it's really relevant for most. So I want to get you take us a little bit into a framework of, you know, without, I want to say giving away the end, or I know we want to talk about the principles and the scrolls, but you want to set up, you know, maybe how the book begins for those who haven't read it. And I don't know if we have people, I know we don't have it. We don't have anybody on the Zoom side today, but if there's anybody, a couple of people on the Facebook side, if you all have read the book, just throw something in the chat, what you've read, what you think. And Rich, will you set up, what is this book to you?
Well, I absolutely love the setup. I think we're moving in the right direction. But before we get started, I think our audience should have the opportunity to understand the nature of what we're trying to achieve today, but also to get to know us a little bit. So I have the illustrious pleasure to introduce my co-host, a graduate from Talladega, HBCU, correct? Is that how you say it?
Talladega.
Yeah. Talladega. Yeah. She's also has put in 20 years with the iconic record label TK Records, and also the Icon Music Group. She's been involved with that. She has an extensive background in the political arena and in many different positions there. And she has the pleasure of being my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you Miss Nikki Styles Baker.
Bill joined us back today. Hey, Dr. Bill. He's coming.
Hey, Dr. Bill.
And I'm gonna, and since you did all of that, Richard Milholm, also from Miami, Florida, served in the United States Air Force. He has served as an air traffic controller and in a multifaceted finance career. He served as an investment banker, insurance agent, commodity broker, festival producer, songwriter, business broker, and music producer and songwriter. So for those of you, show this man some respect and some love. I love him. He's going to be in my life till the end or forever. That's a better way of putting it. So give him a round of applause.
So, so now going back into the book, The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. You asked me a very interesting question. You asked me why I chose this book. Two reasons. Number one, once you put something that has to do the greatest salesman, it throws people off because they think it's about sales. And it almost like eliminates people who aren't supposed to be here because they've already made a decision without actually having enough information to back up the decision they're making. So if you're not ready to be open, you use the term all the time, how? You have to be honest, open, and willing. And if you're not honest, open, and willing, then maybe this might not be the right place for you at this time. And then the second reason I chose this book is the fundamental principles of this book are really about how to develop you to be the best human being that you can on a basis that has to do with your value systems, right? And we already inherit our value systems from our parents, from our friends, from our communities. But sometimes we have to ask ourselves, what are our values and which ones do we choose? And how do we go about choosing those? And what are those values and principles supposed to bring to us once we've accepted it? And that's what really excites me about the book, because it gives you an opportunity not only to hear about the principles, but what you should get from those principles to bring to us once we've accepted it. And that's what really excites me about the book, because it gives you an opportunity not about the principles, but what you should get from those principles to bring to us once we've accepted it. And that's what really excites me about the book, because it gives. We have an echo now.
I got you.
Okay, cool. So what did you think about what I just said, or what brought you or brought excitement to you in this book?
Well, I mean, the book from the opening, I like the framework, and maybe I'm just a booky person, but I like to look at, I remember when I was taking writing, we were taught to always pay attention to the title and the first few lines of a book, right? So if it's set up well, it's the title, it leads you into, okay, where are we going with this? And as the story opens with, you know, an old man saying, I want to get rid of all my wealth, right? Why are you getting rid of all your wealth? And we had been talking last week about the need to be able to give it all up, right? To have something new, you got to give it all, right? And that's kind of challenging in our mindset that we have in this world. Like, first of all, we're not trying to give it all, we're trying to get it all, right? And it's like, who can get it first from who, right? You know, everybody's playing these games, what they gonna get, right? What they can get, and this idea. And so it's like, that's the setup. The setup is, it's not about what you can get, it's about what you can give, right? And well, that's how I read into it.
Right.
So you have what appears to be a very wealthy man living in a palace with every kind of jewel and stone and luxury about. And he's telling his faithful servant, I intend to give it all away. And so his servant is confused. It's like, why would you do that? You know, I've been with you your whole life, your adopted son. I've never known you to do this. The way he saw it is, this guy was just gaining his whole life, you know, selling. He's selling, he's got managers selling. So now you want to give it away? And so that's when he revealed, my real secret was what I learned in these scrolls. What I learned in these scrolls is what helped me to receive. And what's placed in the scrolls is what you're giving, right? It's all of it. You know, all of those 10 scrolls and all the principles touch on what you're giving. You're giving it right now. You're giving love. You're giving to the needy. And if you can do that, that itself, I believe, will transform your personality. We all know that salesman is trying to sell something to you that you don't need, right? She was trying to get me to sell a diet plan thing with her, right? Or some friends that sell the travel business, right? And I'm like, go for it. But that's not necessarily a line. I don't even like to travel, right? Well, come on, I don't like to travel. So if you can't hear the words that are coming out of my mouth, and that's all you can give me is a sale, that's a weak salesman. When there's somebody right around the corner who needs what you have. So when he tells the story about how he gained the scrolls, there's a story of a man giving away the one valuable thing he had that would seem to be the promise to his wealth, and he gives it away. So what do you think that he was trying to point to? Why did he give And why was that celebrated, right? Yeah, there was a sign. And so I think maybe we're watching the signs. In the case in the book, there was a bright star when the young Hadid felt like he had done wrong in giving the one piece of valuable thing away. The older man kind of celebrated and like, no, 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 no. That one bright star that made the night look like day. I think it made me think about, there's something in your life right now that makes you feel that great. That's so clear. But in our society, I think we try to ignore it. We go, oh, that's just a coincidence. Oh, that's not a sign. That's not a star. No, it's not looking like day, even though it's night. And sometimes for me, the signs that I see, that I pray for, are very clear. It's just a matter of, will I follow them? Will I be obedient enough to trust the truth that I know? Or will I listen to all the noise and the garbage and what everybody jump on the bandwagon and says? So I think,
Well,
this is a story about giving, and that the key to being the greatest salesman is you got to understand how to give and what to give.
yeah, let's not go too far from that. I want to touch on that a little bit more about the giving part, because unfortunately, we're now in a society where, like you said earlier, everybody's trying to figure out a way to get. And the basic principle tells you that givers get. The more you give, the more you're going to get. And the book is showing us and it's trying to remind us in our own lives that the more we give, whether we give our time, our love, our effort, our intelligence, our strength, our guidance, that we lose nothing by giving. Even though this world tells us that we're actually depleting ourselves, what we're really doing is we're replenishing our storage because we're getting more. And that's a hard concept for someone who's caught up in the running up and down in life and taking care of children, handling a boss, have a girlfriend that's angry, have a boyfriend that's angry, have children running around. With all these things going around, when do we have enough time to sit down and think and say to ourselves, you know what? What am I going to give me that I can give to the world that's going to turn around and replenish me at the same time? And these are the kind of thoughts that we used to think like that, I believe, but now we're getting more away from it to the point and extent that we're allowing machines supposedly to think for us. And so now the question is, what kind of people are we going to be if we refuse to think, if we refuse to give?
Well, I'm on this, like, I need to think less, right? Because sometimes
Okay.
my thinking has gotten me in trouble. My thought that I was so smart is actually, honestly, oftentimes the beginning of going down a very wrong path, right?
Mm,
You can rationalize and justify and think, and to be dead wrong, right? And you done built a whole system around your wrongness, right? And you can go, and I can quote this book and that and tell you this scientific study and this poll and none of that's relevant, and a lot of that's not true, right? And so that was another great point brought out in the book. The sparrow that came into the salesman's room,
right.
like some people have read in the Christian Bible, am I not greater than the sparrow? The sparrow didn't think, "Ooh, I'm not gonna go in it." The sparrow just know there's cheese in there. I'm going in there to get the cheese. I'll figure out how to get out later. So in the same way, if I see the light over there, I need to go towards the light. I need to be obedient to what I know is the truth. What you know and what you believe is two different things. And I heard somebody say, believe is a problem. It says BELIEVE.
Yeah,
There's
I've
a
heard
lie right in the middle of what you believe, right? So somebody believe,
a lie that you live, I think they say.
it's times in your own life where you have believed completely different things, and none of your beliefs made it true. I said, did somebody land on the moon? I don't know. Does it really matter what I believe? And we sit here and we argue. You and I talking about that with men and women. Well, I believe men are da 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 da. And see, I believe the problem is women are this. The problem is your belief system.
Yes.
So I think sometimes we need to escape from that whole psychology of having to prove and be I don't know, somebody agree with us what we believe in, right? So what do you know to be the truth? And if you ask someone, if there's something you say, do you know? Some Christians say, do you know the Lord? They go, well, I know the Lord. Well, do you believe that? I believe, but you know this part, but you don't know that part. So I think we need to start getting into the place when you have full knowing, full trust. And, and that's a challenge. But like I said, some of the principles in this book reminded me of that. Hadid kept talking about, well, the star was a sign in the book that something special had happened in Bethlehem. And the man said, I prayed for a sign, and this is the first time in my life that I got it. So again, if you pray, or if you just seek guidance, if you're seeking whatever, it talked about success for one person is different than it is for someone else. And failure is only you giving up on your goal. But if you prayed or you aspire to whatever the thing is, and you don't attain it, it's usually only because you gave up on it. I gave up on being a newscaster, right? Nothing happened to make that not happen. I gave up on it. So believe I could be a newscaster instead of following the path that was in front of me. And the path still remains, and I just got back on the path. Not maybe a newscaster in a sense, but I mean, this is the news we get to create.
This is one of the interesting points that you said, because when you said that it's still before you, even in the book, when you start getting a little deeper into the book, one of the first things they tell you is they come up with the saying, failure will never overtake you if your determination is strong enough. And that's the first thing they introduce you as an idea or as a principle for you to incorporate it in your life. And like what you just said, I've gone through it myself. How many times have we known we're going down the right path and we chose the easier path of giving up, of just refusing to continue, and then say, well, I was going to make it happen anyway, or it was going to be too tough, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the right background, or I don't have the right skin tone. And in reality, it was us not wanting to do the work. We were willing to give up on what we were supposed to be actually blessed by.
And sometimes, like I said, sometimes there's no work at all. It's just receiving it, right? Like
yes, yes.
You have a problem receiving compliments. I said I do not, but I have, and it's hard because I wanted people to focus more on what I was
You have a hard time receiving compliments?
No, I think just okay, if someone says you're attractive, right? You had nothing to do with making yourself attractive, right? And you know that where one person thinks you are, another person thinks you're not. So my value for attractiveness, I guess maybe in my family, we didn't talk a lot about how people look. We talked about how people behave. So their reference for what they're saying, I'm attempting to accept. And so often I would just say, thank you, right? And then I would be thinking, is there something more I'm supposed to say? Or now I sometimes say, to God be the glory, right? To God be the glory. And they're like, well, why are you talking about God?
Oh, you're trying to laugh your way out of it? You're trying to laugh your way out of the
But no, I'm really saying I didn't do it.
Yes.
You did a good job on something. You intentionally did that, but none of us got to choose how we look, especially on the outside.
Oh, okay, so before we go away from there, because I am going to let it slide to the next subject, but think about it. Even if somebody like, okay, let's do it this way. Nikki, you are beautiful. Does that make you uncomfortable?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay, but guess what? When I say you're beautiful, that doesn't mean I'm actually talking about what I'm seeing on the outside. I'm talking about what I see on the inside. And because I've been friends with you so long, I know what I see. But you don't know what I see. So why would it make you uncomfortable?
Well, how do you receive it? And that's what I'm saying. So how do you, if I say, Rich, you know what? You are I think that you're very benevolent. It just takes some, like, what are we saying? What are you trying to communicate? So what do you say? Thank you. Or you say, well, what do you mean by that?
So we're questioning something that we may want to consider humbling ourselves and accepting. Because if we really are supposed to be connected because we're here on the planet, then somebody complimenting you on something that you may not have cognizant thought pattern to create still should be something that should make you, I don't want to be arrogant about it, but it should make you feel like, you know what, I'm glad you see that, and I'm glad you're reminding me that that is part of who I am.
Well, you know what I want to say, we said we were going to do this in an attempt to keep
Okay.
it. And I had a recent epiphany. A part of why it probably makes me uncomfortable is when I was young, I was a victim of a assault. And at that time in my young mind, I felt it was a result of how someone perceived me. And even I had a difficulty discussing it because of how I thought people would perceive me. So I chose to hide myself and mask myself. So as long as somebody was criticizing the mask, I'm safe, right? But if
Okay.
I expose the vulnerability of that I care, what happens, especially when people are manipulative and they switched around and go, as a matter of fact, you trash, right? And so we know it's in our human nature to be fickle with this way, that way. And so I just got in this very guarded mode for many years. And so now the glory, the beauty of life right now is I get to come back out. I get to come back out. And like I said, and if you're a salesman and somebody says, I love your tomatoes, right? You go, thank you. You want to buy some more, right? But his mind is on his purpose. His purpose is to sell tomatoes. So the compliments are very valuable because it's going to help him sell more tomatoes. But does that make him or break him if the same person says tomorrow the tomatoes are trash, garbage, right? Or does he say, I'm still selling tomatoes, right? So I am trying to move myself into that place that despite don't necessarily need the acknowledgement, I appreciate it because it's a gift that a person did not have to do, right? Because sometimes people know you did something great and they will never acknowledge it, right? That's kind of sad.
Well,
But where's the balance, right? The balance is, can we give and receive gifts freely and sincerely? And so I'm working on my side to be more receptive. And like you told me one time, Nikki, you can't be the only giver. Okay.
that's right.
You slowing down this whole cycle of giving and receiving, giving it my way. And I'm like, my bad.
Okay. Story time with Uncle Richie.
Okay, wait.
So we sharing, we might as well share all the way. I have always had a healthy opinion about myself, but I owe all of that to my mother. My mother spent an inordinate amount of time telling me what a good looking baby I was, what a good looking boy I was, what a smart boy. I mean, my mom did that to 5 children. And after a while, the Milhomes were considered the conceited children because that's all we ever heard from our mom. Now, my dad, he was more quiet, more stoic. He would smile a lot, he'll hug us, but he wouldn't talk. But my mom, oh my God, we'd go and get some Easter clothes, and she'd be bragging all in the church about how beautiful her children were. So it never dawned on me because all I could think about is my mom couldn't be lying, not to me. That's my mom. She knows better than anybody how good looking I am. And it carried on till I got older when I started going to high school and I met the mean girls. And I was like, oh, they're saying I'm not good looking. And it started to creep a little doubt in my mind, not because of I didn't believe my mom, but because the girls that I wanted to kiss didn't want to kiss me.
Okay.
And it started affecting my mind. But eventually, what happened was, I grew out of the awkward stage. I started learning how to speak to women and girls and all that. And things finally changed around. But man, going from that 8th grade to freshman, it was an awkward time for the brother.
Oh, boys.
It sounds like you want to share. Come on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Rich, we at 6:30, And hopefully this thing won't turn off exactly at 6:30 my time. Dr. Bill, you want to chime in? We were talking about the greatest salesman in the world, and you've heard some of the other conversation. You want to jump in?
Well, because I hadn't read the book, I really, if I comment, I just like to comment on what I heard from you guys. Like
Sure.
I heard Rick ask you, I think a very important and deep question, and that was, do you have trouble accepting compliments? And you talked for 35 minutes, and it was really just a yes or no. I mean, it was just either you do or you don't. And it was kind of simple. Uh, and because I think it's important to understand that for me to understand that a gift to me is mine to do it as I please. You know, but it's not for me to judge the person who's giving it to me. You know, because everybody, because we only give what we have. See, so whatever gift a person is giving me is based on how they have come to see the world. And if I judge them, I'm judging how they have come to see the world. And whatever gift somebody give me, I need it. I just may not see it at that time, but I have to just accept it and go with it to try to understand it. What I don't understand about it, but I have to accept it. I have to accept it because I'm not in the world by myself. I'm in the world with other people. Yeah. I didn't know that you guys gonna be reading books and everything because I have different books that I'm reading. I'm reading two books right now, but they're quite different. They're kind of advanced physics and spirituality kind of books. Yeah.
So give us a couple of titles so we can check them out.
One is, which is one that I'm reading for a friend that I totally disagree with, and it's called Angels, Giants, and Truth, Faith, Facts of Fiction. And the book, as I'm reading, he wants me to read because he knew I had a lot of theology background. But as I read it, he thinks that he's writing something, profound, but it's really just an apologetic book. And he said a lot of things that that you learned a long time ago, but he's trying to say it in a way to make himself see that I see it differently, but his conclusions come out to be the same. Makes it that.
Well, listen, I don't want us to get too far from what we're doing today, but I do have a question for you, Doctor. What about principles? Give me your idea on principles and how they affect us as humans.
Well, one of the things that you guys had started to mention earlier was the belief. And I did that five video series on the belief system. And principles, I think, are no more than just the products of belief systems.
Okay.
Principles, rules, because from the time that we're born, we're being taught by everything in our society what we should believe. And most of the things that we do believe, the things that we have been taught are things that we have caught. Because we are taught things in our homes, and then we go out into our society. We go to our schools, and schools reinforce it. Our churches reinforce it, and you find yourself, fully mature, sprouting things that didn't really come from you,
Right.
but came into you, and you kind of just reflecting it, throwing it back out. And to me, that's what a belief. Because to me, you almost hit on it when you said that. Well, I know some things. Well, if you believe, then that means you don't know. And
Correct.
a prime example is what you're talking about the man on the moon. Some people believe that there was, some people believe that it don't, but none of us know. You know, you can believe certain things, but when you say I believe, you're also saying I don't know. You know, because when you don't have to believe.
But I think this is where we go back into the concept of principles and how do we engineer and build ourselves up personally? Because as we get into the value system, principle systems, things of that nature, and the book is kind of like a basic guide on these principle systems, it gives us a opportunity to make decisions like you said so eloquently that we don't know. We get these information and we get this information that sprouts out of us, but now we get to make a conscientious decision on what we want to be. And there's usually one way we can achieve that thing that we say we want to achieve. But the question now is how much work, effort, diligence that we're going to put into this thing that we want to achieve. And I think what the book is doing for us at this point, it gives us that reference, that framework of how to move towards that goal. And you don't have to even read the book to be able to agree with that concept. The question is, how much time and effort do human beings actually are willing to put themselves into a position that is uncomfortable to actually be comfortable, if that makes any sense?
Yeah,
Those
I understand. Well, I understand that what you're saying, and I guess when I hear that at this point in my life, because that some years ago I saw it differently. But
Okay.
but what I hear you saying is that um, our society and cultures has taught us that achieving is very important.
Right.
So I'm living in a culture now where achievement is not important. I've lived in other cultures where achievement was not important. What was more important was camaraderie. When you're in
Mm,
a tribal system, when you're living in a tribal system, achievement can only be thought of in terms of the group. There's no such thing as individual achievement if the group is not achieving at the same time. See, so when we look at how we're taught. We're taught in school not to critically think about something, but how to follow. The smartest person is always the one that knows the answer, never the ones that raise those serious questions.
right.
You're the ones that raise questions about what we're supposed to do. It's always pushed aside, looked at as the outcast. We'll deal with you later. You got ADD. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But and to me, what I have come to grips with, an example is as a pastor. Um, at the end of my pastoring, I was ready to leave the church because I no longer accepted some of the things that I had come to believe. And I realized in order to continue as a pastor, I had to continue to believe those, or continue to act like I believed them. And a lot of people act like what they believe, you know. So, like that's why when we started doing that series, the very first thing I did was on the belief system. The five videos on belief system and the development of it and how it develops and why it develops. So just living my, not just living my living example, is we have to step back, kind of like the Buddha, step back and see, what is really important in terms of the community, in terms of all of us, in terms of us being one, as opposed to what's important for me to achieve what I want to achieve.
But before you go any further, there's something I wanted, because I got to jump in here, because I think I'm having a dilemma with the semantics. What you say now?
I'm gonna jump in on both of y'all in a minute.
Okay, that'd be okay. You can jump on now if you want to. But
Go ahead and finish.
okay, but there's a question here of semantics. And the semantics is, when you say that achievement in the society that you're in now has to do with the group, I think this is where we get tripped up with words, because when you said it to me, what I heard was achievement was the same as individual or as a tribal. And what I mean by that is, no, I don't agree that achievement solo is good. I don't believe in that. But when you say there's what we consider achievement is tribal, to me, that's good, and it's the same thing.
Okay, can I jump in there?
Yeah, go ahead.
The strength of the book that we're talking about today is not about individual achievement.
Right.
And so that's why I asked you to talk about the book, because there are people listening that have never read the book. And so we're saying this is a book that you and I have discussed. And back to when you were about talking about, yes, a principle is definitely a product of your belief system. And again, if we're looking for what we know, sometimes in your readings, in your studies, in your life experience, you reach a place where you just know what you know. And sometimes that happens through the experience, right? That your belief system led you down a trail to a principle, and then you find that light and you go, now this I know. So some of the power in the books, I wanted you to come back, Rich, because this was your book selection to actually talk about. The book frames it and calls it a principle, but there are some principles here that actually led me to some things that I know to be the truth, right? That I know, but I needed to be reminded. I needed to reflect. And a part of that is just that, because when he gave the cloak, he was supposed to be a salesman, and he gave away his product. He didn't give it away to achieve. He gave it away because he saw a need. He gave it away in that communal and in love, right? He saw a stranger. He saw a family, a baby, a man, a woman, and none of that changed. They were strangers. He gave them something they needed, which was a cloak. So I do believe that that's a key aspect to this book, is reminding you're doing this for the greater good. And if you get that, that's what makes you a great salesman. In the second saying, he's saying, y'all got it all backwards. You think this is about personal achievement, because when the boy said, I just want money, right? What's wrong with me wanting money? I don't want to be oppressed. I don't want to be impoverished. Like I said, just like the people out here now trying to take. They think that they're the impoverished one. They have no concern about the community. They think it's just them. So the first lesson that he reveals, and even in the first, I think it's in the first scroll, he suggests you need to be ready to give away at least 50% of your earnings. So this challenges is not the status quo. This is not a book that is framing this from a how to go get it. It's actually telling you the way you have been trying to get it, the way you think it's about you coming up is actually the mistake. Okay.
Go ahead.
So I want to just give some of the content from the book. Can you share one of those principles? So it's better to say, instead of me saying what it is and what it's not, let us see. So share one of those principles, please.
I'm gonna bring y'all back, but
we only got 15 minutes. So I'm saying y'all was going back and forth. So I'm like, okay, let's get back to the principle.
Well, that I understand what you're saying, but we have to always put ourselves in a position where we're clear. And I like clarity. But going back to the book, and you mentioned the young man saying about the poverty thing. one of the most powerful principles in the book is from the very beginning. I think it's scroll number 2, where it says, "I will greet this day with love in my heart." And they make sure that that's one of the beginning principles that they give to us. I think what makes that so powerful is that no matter what you do, no matter where you go, if you don't start the day with love, just like he was using love to fuel his desire to become a great salesman, the whole purpose was for him to be able to meet the young lady. Well, love is basically everything that runs the planet in a positive, well, in any kind of way we want to consider. And I tell people that to me, love is law. So the L stands for love, the A stands for always, and the W means win. If you're operating from that context, that love is law and law is love, then you're always going to win. Now, it may not appear like you're winning. You may even have heartache, heartbreak, because the young man, when he left after he gave the blanket, he was very, very depressed. But in the end, he won. So my question to you is, how does "I will greet this day with love in my heart," how does that resonate with you?
You talking to me or Dr. Bill?
Both.
You want to
With
answer?
me, I've always dealt from the position of love, and as I grew more in that direction to the point to me, like um, like success would be the doing something about the starvation and the genocide in Gaza. See, we cannot talk about love and not deal with the genocide that we are allowing our weapons to destroy a whole group of people. I mean, people lining up with buckets trying to get food and are killed.
Well, doctor, I
Uh,
understand. Doctor, I
but,
understand. I
but
understand your point.
my love extend to what do we do about that? Not what we believe, but what do we do about that? How can I play my part?
Okay, well, excuse me, doctor. I understand that concept, and I appreciate you bringing out your opinion. But as we move forward, especially that we're talking about love in this sector, what I would like to do is for us to ask ourselves how we're going to affect ourselves personally.
Well,
Because
I want to answer now because you asked
go
me.
ahead.
So, I've asked myself that, as a child, you see hurt and you see poverty in the world. And you go, and I've asked myself, what can I do about that? Like I said, for each of us, and I still try, is what I do today that can affect that, right? What can I give? What can, and maybe in little ways and big ways, right? Of in the circle of people I know, the things I do, I wish I could do more, but it is satisfying to know there's efforts being made. So if each of us maybe thought on a bigger level, so this book hit me on the Meet the Day with Love, it just hit on another layer because I've
Mm-hmm.
always been trying to do what I can on a global level, right? A national level, a local level, and what I was missing was the personal love, right? I deflected that for a focus on everything else and forgot that I'm included in that global world. So I don't know if it's just if love is personal, it's just one kind of, it's just one love. And I know I've heard people say, "Oh no, you got this kind of love, you got that kind of love." And that's when you started with the love. I was going to say, we get into a tricky word because people always get into what is love. I heard a really good says that love is an energy that comes from God that I could choose to allow to be myself, be the vessel, and express and communicate to other people. So the other is necessary to have love, right? But I may not be the initiator of it, but I do have to allow it. And like you told me, it's a cycle. So what is love? So doesn't matter whether I love a stranger, a person, or I love to see people not be oppressed, or whatever I could do to make sure people eat, or like I said, or that when I remember when I was talking about people who drive SUVs and like, look, we stealing gas. They're like, oh, Nikki, you crazy. There's nothing we can do about that. But like I said, it's a very personal accountability, a responsibility to express that love. When it comes to, I think maybe, like you said, addressing on a bigger or global level, and not it just be, how do I love myself? It's both, right?
So how much time do we have left?
If it doesn't shut us off, we got 8 minutes. So
well, then let's see if we get let's see if we can ask someone else to come in and give their opinion.
okay, okay, we're the only ones on Zoom, so we can only ones that can talk. If anybody is on Facebook that wants to come in, you can DM me and I'll give you the Zoom link. Otherwise, they can put something in the chat. Cheryl Mormon asked, what's the name of the book? The name of the book we started to discuss, but we don't go on down lots of tangents, is The Greatest Salesman in the World.
By Og Mandino.
Og Mandino. I did find out that Og Mandino wrote this book originally in 1968, and he had his own bout. He was actually a salesman, and he had bouts with alcoholism and other things. And so he was very, he was trying to save himself, basically. And so he was reading a lot of self-help and personal improvement books. And then he shifted and actually started writing the personal improvement books. And in his time, it was highly sought after. It is one of those books like Who Moved My Cheese that a lot of people read in business, but it's not exclusive to business. There were so many jewels in here. You want to give one more, if we can squeeze it in, if it doesn't cut us off, Rich?
Sure. The one I would like to give is I am nature's greatest miracle. I think as we move in the planet, we have to start realizing how great we really are. What an amazing thing. I think you and I were having a discussion about how wonderful the human body really is and all the things that it can accomplish. And we take it for granted. And if we were more conscientious about exactly this gift we call a body, this thing we call a life that's within this thing we call a body, I think based on the book, it tells you clearly that you're better than a rock, you're better than a tree, you're better than a tiger, you're better than an elephant. You were given the opportunity to choose. And you have the right, as the theme goes throughout the book, you can choose love or you can choose hate, but you still have the right to choose. And I think that's a very powerful position that we can take. And I think that kind of position is what actually ends up affecting the rest of the world if we move in that direction.
Well, I'd like to tie that together just in case. So to your point, but the book says further, we'll go further with the law, that law of love.
Further, farther, faster?
Further, farther, faster. It says, I am a unique grape.
Yep.
On a vine of grapes. So again, that idea of community. We all grapes, but you were designed perfectly for God's desire, purpose, and pleasure, and beauty, and taste. So yes, you are great God's. We are all God's greatest creation among many other great creations. And if we can remember that, then maybe we'll be more respectful in love, right? And more and realizing that we have nothing to lose, only to gain.
So then what the question that begs is, why would we not see that in other people if we can accept it for ourselves? And vice versa. You're better than a rock, you're better than a tree, you're better than a tiger.
That's me. That seems to be the most difficult thing to people. Most of us don't want to see ourselves in other people. And I think that goes back to, I hope that we can focus on looking for the truth, right? And I do agree with, and oh, by the way, for anybody, that Dr. Bill does have a video series. I'm looking at one of the videos now here on YouTube. You can find them at Bill Belly, Dr. Bill Speaks. And so I I did definitely connect with Dr. Bill. Let's if people want to hear more from you, Rich, where could they hear from you?
They can find me here on Facebook. Just send me a Facebook message and I'll get right back to you.
All right. And then the people who are on, if you want to give book suggestions, all of our talks are not going to be on books, but we did think this was a good place to start because that's what we talk about a lot. And if you want to find me here, I'm on Facebook, Nikki Styles Baker, Instagram, Nikki Styles Baker. We have a boot camp coming up where it will be Rich, myself, and Stephanie LaStalla, also known as the Date Profiler. We got a boot camp coming up on August 30th, and that's going to just be more about navigating social media, how to use it better to get meet your goals, whether that be business, organizational, and just realize that there's a lot of people out here and there's a lot of noise. So just trying to help ourselves, but help all of us cut through the noise and navigate this maze of information. Any closing words, Rich?
Oh, I'll let you go first and then I'll close out.
Oh, you're so nice. Okay.
Ladies first.
I didn't get my horn. We really I couldn't really set up this book. It's just that deep. Maybe we got to talk about it next week, but I really would love to share more with what it says. But at the end of the day, if people want it, they'll go look at it. But I'm just saying I would recommend it to anyone who's seeking their purpose and how that aligns, or do they think that conflicts with their business or career efforts, and it brings it all together. It, for me, makes it make sense.
And when I think of the greatest salesman in the world, I think of it, as I've said on numerous occasions at this point, that it's really a book that's going to help you understand the principles that you operate from and your overall value system. And if you look at yourself and you take inventory of yourself and you're not 100% pleased with the results in your life or how your life is moving currently, I think this book, as you go through the story, you'll start seeing different parts of you that can be tweaked a little bit and assisted a little bit, and also give you an opportunity to make a conscientious decision of who you want to be for the rest of your life. And the book specifically tells you, if you do X, Y, Z, this is what you should expect. And at this point, if you're not getting the results that you've been wanting to get, what should stop you from trying something different? Thank you for listening.
I think what makes the greatest salesman is that he's selling love. He's not selling a product. And this you don't run out of. But when the salesman forgets that, he loses out. James says talent is never enough. He says love is universal. Cheryl Mormon said thanks. Jensen Cox says start your day with love, 100%. So we got a few people here in the comments. Hey guys, if you want to be added and you want the Zoom link for next week, make sure you drop it in the DM. Let me see, it's 7 o'clock. It didn't cut us off. Dr. Bill, you got any closing thoughts?
No.
All right.
Well, it's been fun.
Okay.
All right. I mean, I'm so glad that you come, and I welcome you to keep coming back. Dr. Bill, you definitely added to our thought, our experience in this experience of love that we only have today to experience. So thank you.
Thank you.
And everybody on Facebook, thank you for chiming in. It's a pleasure.
Don't forget to tell your friends.
So we'll be back next week, Rich?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll be back next week. Thank you.
Y'all have a great one. Be good.
You
Bless
too.
you.